Hi, Dr. P here to talk about hits, virality, not virility, and handling success. Ask yourself, how do hit games happen? Well, we can say how some big games happen. In video games, big companies can spend millions of dollars promoting games that cost millions and millions of dollars to make, and those games then sell millions. So they end up still making a fair amount of money when the game is successful, but for every successful game, there are several that are not successful and lose money. But there are hit games that come out of nowhere, that don't have big promotions behind them, that don't have big companies behind them. And those games sometimes go viral, or viral if you prefer. They just spread all over the internet. And that's one of the reasons why they make a lot of money. Like Candy Crush Saga, Flappy Bird, Angry Birds, you can name others. The question is, are these games really any better than many other games? And my answer would be no. But for some reason, they become hits. So my point here is no one can plan to make a hit, though if you have enough money you can plan to make a big game that has a million sales. But when you start talking about virality, you have to say nobody really knows why it happens. What makes Gangnam Style the most popular YouTube video? Nobody knows. Or the book 50 Shades of Grey, which is by all accounts a poor book, but is very popular. No one knows why. You can't plan virality, it just happens, and nobody can really explain it. And here's a quotation that I think encapsulates it pretty well. Quote, "It's like watching a herd of animals. When one flinches or runs, most of the time nothing happens. But once in a while, when one flinches, the entire herd goes off in a stampede. Human fads always remind me of this, the human stampede." Let's take the example of Flappy Birds, which was a hit in 2013-2014. It's a game that was hard to play, hard to succeed at, a one-button video game. Very easy to play as far as actually playing, but very hard to play well. Programmed by Vietnamese and by all accounts, a fairly primitive game. I didn't get around to noticing it until it was too late and had been taken off the market. It was launched in May of 2013, but it only went viral some months later. Why did that happen? It's a mystery. It seems to be more or less chance. But the game was making the Vietnamese author $50,000 a week from advertising. It was a free-to-play game when he took it off the market because he was so tired of the death threats and other abuse that he was receiving, even though it was a free program. People got addicted to it and then blamed him for it, and he finally got tired of putting up with all the crap. Now let's talk about hits in relation to the long tail. The long tail is a notion that came up a few years ago. It supposes that because it's easy to find product and buy product on the internet, items will continue to sell reasonably rather than going out of print or going away because people can find them and buy them. So there's a long tail to the sales. The opposite point of view is that sales nowadays in the internet age are hit driven, that people buy the hits but don't buy the rest. And nobody knows for sure, but research tends to indicate it's the hit driven that is the way things really work, rather than the former. On the other hand, I've talked to novelists who keep selling electronic versions of their novels long after the book is out of print. So they're making money where before the electronic age, in effect, their book would have been out of print and that was it. In video games, the long tail does exist, but the games sell for almost nothing because they're just electrons, they're not tangible goods. And for a variety of reasons, the price approaches zero. So the answer to long tail versus hit driven is it depends. Now let's talk about toxicity. I've already talked about what happened to the Vietnamese creator of Flappy Bird. We have Phil Fish, who created the game Fez. And he got so much criticism that he finally said, quote, "Fez 2 is canceled. I am done. I take the money and I run. This is as much as I can stomach. This isn't the result of any one thing, but the end of a long, bloody campaign. You win," unquote. He also said, quote, "To be clear, I'm not canceling Fez 2 because some boorish son of a gun said something stupid." He said, "I'm doing it to get out of games. And I'm getting out of games because I choose not to put up with this abuse anymore," unquote. And there are a couple references here. One reference here to an article that I'll also post a URL to so you can click on it, that discusses the difficulties. One game dev said, "I just don't want to make games for these people anymore." And remember, this is before the Gamergate hashtag controversy blew up on Twitter. Now, Notch, who's the creator of Minecraft, today sold his company to Microsoft to escape from this toxicity. Quote, Notch also said that the negative response from the Minecraft community over an end-user license agreement led to his departure, unquote. Also, quote, "Later on I watched the This Is Phil Fish video on YouTube and started to realize I didn't have the connection to my fans I thought I had," unquote. He is happy to escape. So, to summarize this, you can't plan to make a hit game. Maybe Blizzard can plan to make a big game, but you can't. You can only make the best game that circumstances allow you to make. Those individuals who do plan to make a hit usually end up making a mess. You cannot plan to go viral. Those who do go viral should count themselves very lucky. And finally, if you're successful in video games, you have to expect to be abused by the so-called fans. This isn't a very good picture, but this seems to be the way it is.